Hello everyone, my name is Kiwi Camera. I'm a bit tired, but today is a good day. Because I finally finished my finals for the semester. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know why I was trying to do that. Nonetheless. So now I get to hopefully get more sleep. So, right. I feel like if I want to build a good house, I really want a good location, you know? Because I want to build, like, some big stuffs, you know? Just need the right location, though. You know, I ought to say, here's the thing about, as much as I really would love to respond to any persons who chats in the chat, as much as I really would love to, the issue is I just never see them ever. As much as I would love to actually see the chat messages. Anyway, nonetheless, I don't know how long this will be because I think I should get more sleep. Can't tell. No idea what's happening. I understand by now I could have done something more with my time, such as building a big old house. But like, I'd really like to get to the trial chamber, if possible, as soon as possible. That stuff is gonna take a while. And even if I were to get to one, I'd probably die immediately. Oh man, you know what? To fill in the blanks, let me talk about my realms that I had with a couple of friends. And by that I mean like 3. It was a pretty good experience. It would have been nice if there was more, but more people. But I'm fine with whatever I got. It was pretty great. It was called Everlasting Destiny, or that's what it is called. And the idea was I wanted to create a realms with my friends, but I realized something within the concept in which created a big old conflict. You see, I'm one of those nomadic players, one of those people. Hold on, I'm about to sneeze. Sorry. Anyway, so I'm one of those nomadic players that kind of just, immediately, as we enter the world, I'm already starting to walk in a general direction. As if I'm going to reach, like, the far lands eventually. But I won't. And everyone, also does, like, my friend group does the same thing as well. I mean, heck, there was an entire world where the funniest part about it was that I started walking, then one of my friends started following, and then one of my other friends started following him as well. So it was a constant trail of we were just following each other instead of actually playing the game. But there was also another moment where the 3 of us were actually just making a tower, which was called the Tower of Power, and had and was oriented completely around communism. But one of my friends wouldn't do his share of the work. What do we not pay him for, man? But yeah, the Tower of Power is a very simple build. It was just supposed to be reaching sky limit, but we all cooperated. It was a really small space. I think it was the room space was like a 3x3. And yeah, the entire world was just dedicated around that one singular purpose. It was pretty fun. But whatchamacallit, didn't really work out too well. Eventually I ended up making my own towers. But anyway, point case, for this project, very much a project, I wanted to create an experience. And one of the big things was thinking, alright, well, knowing that everyone's just going to scatter apart immediately, how can I stop that? So I chose one of those specified seeds that you can choose in like Bedrock Edition, because this is Bedrock Edition, not what I'm playing currently. Thank goodness. Hate Bedrock Edition. It just ain't right. Except the water. The water actually looks like kind of tasty, like Gatorade. But yeah, point case though, I was cross-playing with my friends, because one had like an Xbox, one was playing on their phone, the other one was also probably playing on their phone, I think. Or, yeah, it's either that or that. And then I was playing on PC, or rather, a laptop. Not anymore. Now I have got like an okayish PC, which I'm okay with. But anyway, point case. Upon the realization that it's just going to end up the same thing if I don't do anything, I decided to choose one of these seeds where it is a stranded island. Of course, that's not the entire world if you actually just explore a few hundred blocks away from spawn, which is that island space. You would end up finding any land. So, how did I fix that? By just going into creative mode before this entire event began and creating the walls. So me and my one of my great friends we actually set up the entire game, or this experience, putting invisible walls at certain areas, and even putting pillars on the corners with some materials that you could just collect if you wanted to. Like I said, this isn't really too much of a vanilla experience. It was just a fun little thing that was going to last precisely 1 month. And the reason why this thing was called Everlasting Destiny was because the little story, almost like it's a D&D campaign, was that, this was a campaign experience, to be honest, but the entire point was that people crash landed into this island, and now they're cursed to stay on the island forever, thus Everlasting Destiny. And what that specified, like what that actually means, is in this world, you are not to go outside of that perimeter, that blockaded perimeter. It was invisible walls, but there was also water, kind of just to add a little bit something more. So I kind of just splashed on some water on most of the perimeter, except for this one wall that I was really lazy with. But anyway, point case, the one big rule, the only rule about this is do not leave the perimeter. You can be anywhere on the map within the perimeter. You can do whatever you want, anything. Just stay within the borders. And yeah, that was the entire concept. It was a very small island, and with very limited resources. So I also, in creative mode, like I said, there's a lot of different setups. A few things that I did was I wanted to give some variables to the trees that you could have, and then one of my friends ended up just kind of making one of them go extinct. So that's great. But nonetheless, in some areas in the island, as well as outside of the island, there were some trees that were planted down. So you could just grab the saplings and start planting them down more, and well, look at that. Like I said, it's not supposed to be the most vanilla, challenging thing. It's just supposed to be an experience for a month. Because, free trial. Make the most of it. And another thing I did was, in the middle of the island, there's a trail leading up to it, in which we would make a vote to specifically, and the lead up is this. So there is a mob spawner. Like I said, once again, I always gotta caution this isn't at all a vanilla experience. There was a mob spawner, completely empty, but there were eggs, like mob spawning eggs that we would vote on, and we could just throw only specifically one of them to put in there. It was a skeleton. We ended up choosing the skeleton. And yeah. I don't know how often we used it, but I certainly used it for arrows. That was pretty good. And somewhere also in the middle, there's two other additions. Which is one, an area where you could just get XP bottles. Every button press, you get like either 1 or 2 stacks of XP bottles for free. No cost to it. Why? Because I don't know. Do you really want to be grinding for hours of this experience stuff? I mean, yeah, it'd be fun to maybe make a mob grinder, but like, man, we ain't got much time, man. We gotta speed this crap up. So, I just, there's a command block. You could press on it at any moment you want and grab some free experience bottles. And in the middle, I already keep saying middle, but some other part of the island, there was also 2 command blocks for 2 specific things. One for name tags, free name tags, and the second one was to spawn in an anvil. So basically, free anvil to use. And yeah. So that's the entire setup, as well as the world map somewhere nearby the mob spawner. But then one of the participants, the material that the map was built around, like there's a border around the map with like full netherite blocks. And one of the participants, she ended up just stealing the prop blocks, the blocks that you're not supposed to take, but it wasn't a part of the rules, so I was like, alright, fair enough. I was super ticked when I found out that she just stole them. But she did point out that it wasn't in the rules, and I was like, yeah, that's fair, that's fair. I'm still ticked, though. I'm not going to take them. You're allowed to keep those netherite blocks, but I'm still ticked. So, I ended up putting a bunch of TNT around already massively destroyed island at that point. But I made sure not to... no one had their... Besides my tower, or just really small hut at the moment, besides that, no one else actually had their stuff on the island, so of course no one was actually going to get in the crossfire, and I dearly hoped that this trap of mine wouldn't actually ignite a TNT that somehow lands onto someone else's property. If it hit my crap, I don't care. But if it hit someone else, which it did, but very minimal damage, that's negligible. Yeah. Point case. I was just trying to avoid any kind of collateral to anyone. Because, I don't know. Their builds are their builds. They don't need it destroyed. But the island absolutely, can get the consequence. Because the idea was, I put... I'm not gonna lie, it's really funny how much, we're on a similar wavelength, because this person, I put down a bunch of command blocks. Like, I specifically put a command block in her base, one of the other friend's base, and another friend's base, and then my base. And the idea was, anyone could push this button. Anyone could push any of these command blocks, and it will put one singular redstone block right next to one of the TNTs that are planted all across, like, the island itself. And the idea was that hopefully the participant that stole the netherite blocks would just straight up... Oh, yeah, there was one command block in the middle of the island, I think. Maybe. Point case. Absolutely wouldn't just push the entire trap of blowing up the island on her. Very petty, yes. But no one, in the end, the idea definitely was that I didn't want anyone's build to be destroyed. So, whatever, it doesn't matter in the end. This was also like one of the singular only moments where I actually abused my opportunities to just go in creative mode. Because, heck, I could go in creative mode at any moment, but typically, I just don't want to. Because there's no need to. And I'm very much, I don't want to cheat, that's what I'm trying to say. I very much am about fair experiences, but whenever I got ticked off whenever this happened, there came an exception. So, but even in the exception, I didn't want anyone's build to get damaged. And once again, the participant that stole the netherite still could absolutely keep the netherite, so, whatever. But anyway, very clever she is, because she ended up being really suspicious that there was a command block in her house. So she went to someone else's house and pressed the button there. I think it was advertising a free diamond or something. Or maybe it wasn't. No, I don't think it was advertising a free diamond, but it was just straight up a command block, and she went to someone else's house and checked around, I think, to see if anyone else had it. And she ended up pressing the button in someone else's house, It doesn't make the doesn't make a difference, except for like what place the button was pressed, But other than that, the damage would be the same, which is the main island. But anyway, that was a fun moment. That was a very fun moment. That was like unironically the only time that I abused the power, because I was really petty in that moment. I still think it's just what. For the rest of the entire playthrough of those 30 days, she straight up had netherite the entire time. Anyway, whatever. Oh, and there was also this other edition that I made, which was thankfully pretty liked. eventually, towards the end, I think on the last 10 days or 15 days, like halfway point or, last 10 days, I deactivated it. But another thing I implemented into the realms, and specifically the island, was, you see, unfortunately, when it comes down to Bedrock, commands kind of suck balls. Redstone also kind of just sucks balls, if I'm not mistaken. It's just weird, wacky-tacky crap inside of a Bedrock edition. But inside of, specifically servers and realms especially, the range in which things are being loaded in is not too large at all. The chunk range is really small for what I was trying to accomplish, so I had to set up 2 of these. These were some little itty-bitty machines that could not be tampered with, and it was part of the rules to not tamper with them because, there was a very specific purpose, which is to bring danger to the night again. Because, nighttime isn't really feared in Minecraft these days because you can always run away from your problems, despite the fact how I always end up dying anyway in the first few days. Well, one of the friends just ended up chillaxing in his own house away from the island when I stuck on the island. But point case, to bring fear or tension to nighttime again, I end up using the Warden's potion effect, or just effect, as a little status thing. I guess that's a not good thing. I don't know. Why would I punish them? Why would I? Now I need to think about if that was even a wise decision. Because nighttime, I guess it just reinforced the idea of just going to sleep. Yeah. Interesting. Nonetheless, though, I didn't use the blindness effect. I used whatever the Warden gives you. And the idea was that it was supposed to make you tense and think twice about, really going outside. Because, in old Minecraft, you build a house, you want to stay in that house, You actually want to stick into the house and not actually explore at nighttime, otherwise you're going to die. It was truly a survival experience. But once you actually got sprint, now you can run away from your problems. And whenever you got the bed, you can just use the bed. Albeit the bed was already back in the older versions as well, but whatever. Point case though, that was the idea, and it was pretty well received, thankfully. But unfortunately, I had to do a lot of tinkering with it because it was interesting. I had to do a lot of tinkering with the machines, these little thingamabobs. Let's just say nighttime. Nighttime command blocks, or just what should I call them? The Night Owl experience. You know what? No. There we go. So these nighttime, these nighttime thingamabobs were put in 2 specific places where once you stepped into the chunk, it would actually turn on the effect for everyone until you fell asleep. Once it became daytime, it cleared the effect entirely. So that does reinforce the idea, unfortunately, to, always go to sleep. But it did at least make everyone think twice about going outside. Which I wasn't trying to make you exactly stop going outside, but, I wanted to increase the risk of actually being outside at night, bring in a little bit more danger to this atmosphere and all that jazz. And that technically worked, but it also backfired with the fact how now everyone just came to a mutual agreement of, oh, snap, it's nighttime, everyone go to sleep. Which is such an uncommon thing in general in servers nowadays, where it was oddly refreshing to see how everyone was mutually agreeing. All right, let's sleep. And it's not even because, eventually the effect was kind of tedious, but at the same time, like I said, you couldn't see enemies. And the reason why I didn't choose blindness specifically is because blindness is blindness. You literally just don't see anything. But the other one is a pulsating effect, and you can illuminate areas with, you know, light sources, and they actually light up, and you can see them. With blindness, you can't see around you. It is pure blindness. But the potion effect that the Warren gives you, you can see light, and that's why I chose that. If anything, maybe it would have been nice to know if there was even a way to turn off the pulsating effect, because all I really needed was the fact how it makes everything extremely dark. Oh, that's what it's called, darkness, I think. So it just, you know, ramps up the darkness, but it would have been nice if it was just the darkness and no pulsation effect. Maybe there's a way to alter it, but I didn't do anything about that. Point case, though, it worked pretty well. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be in the sequel. I don't know when the sequel's going to happen. This was a thing that I did like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I definitely knew at the time as well that this was a real big event in which after it happens, I don't know if it's going to happen again. You know, that's why it was such a major thing to each of us. We all acknowledge that once these things are over, we're going to get a lot more busy, you know, or we're going to be, you know, fixated on other things that we need to actually do, and probably won't have much time to actually work on any of these projects within the game. So, you know, what would be the point of getting Realms if no one's really on? And the idea was that there were supposed to be more people, but lo and behold, other people were busy, which is totally fair enough. So, tragic stuff on that regard, but whatever, it was still a great experience. And I do have a sequel idea. Oh, before that though. So, a big thing, the entire massive end goal, when it came down to this experience, wasn't at all about getting to the end. In fact, the end, I didn't care. At a certain point in time, I actually opened up the end portal right in the middle of the map, and you can just go there and grab an elytra if you want. Me no care, you know. The end dragon was already killed. I don't give a crap. The bigger end goal was the Wither. Especially because, you know, it's a Bedrock Edition Wither. You know, this ain't no simple rodeo. This crap will tear you apart for no reason. I don't know what's up with that. They didn't port that over to Vanilla. Java Edition. I don't know why they didn't do that. It's like so much better in Bedrock Edition. I don't know why. Because the boss fight actually feels like a boss fight rather than some sort of like thingy, some weird screwed up looking Mewtwo that's already screwed up looking, but you know, he just flies away. That's all he does. Instead of like a Java Edition, that's all he does. He just flies away, starts attacking. I'm like, why'd you do that to me, man? And just starts flying away. I'm like, no, come back, man. You're supposed to be like the big bad like endgame boss. Or like post-endgame. You're supposed to be the post-endgame boss, and yet you're just running away, man. What are you doing? You even have like such a deathly effect, and yet you're just, I don't want to deal with this. I mean, that's sort of fair enough. But nonetheless, you know, it's so much better instead of Bedrock Edition for this boss fight, because it actually feels like a boss fight, and also shows the capabilities of what could be inside of Minecraft, but they just, for some reason, don't want to add more bosses. What's up with that? There's so much potential for it. I don't think anyone would complain about it. These are all things that you would have to go out your way to do, you know? Unless you're planning to add in like some sort of Eye of Cthulhu type thing. Or something staring at you at nighttime and then just randomly spawns in to kill all your NPCs and you as well. nonetheless. What was I saying? But yeah, the end goal was the Wither. Pretty cool. And then we all fought at the end just to see who was going to win in the end with all the equipment we had. There was supposed to be a custom villager where it had custom trades. I sort of got it to work where you could trade, like, I think dirt for some gold. And the reason why is because I really wanted this villager to be the massive antithesis to the overall. I wanted to bring drama, is what I was saying, you know, because it was an island, very limited resources, and I want to really hone in that idea that it's going to be lack of resources to the point where you're going to grab a bunch of dirt, sell for goods, and slowly decay the entire world just because of trading and all that jazz to get some goods and all that. Oh, there's a lot of different things that I keep forgetting to mention, my bad. As for the ancient city, there's also a teleport to the ancient city, and there's also a quick teleport to another fortress, because, man, they're kind of a pain in the butt to actually find. And once again, I ain't got time for that. There's one localized portal, just to make sure that no one could truly... the rule was, you know, there was only one portal in the world, and that's the one in the center, and the one inside of the nether, and you can't make any other one. So then everyone would eventually have to make their way back to the original portal to get out of the nether. So the idea, I mean, it's not like I was actually seeing and checking if anyone followed that, but I'm assuming. Because, heck, to go against the rules of this realms, it kind of just defeats the entire purpose of the experience. If you're running away and becoming nomadic, well, then you're just not a part of the experience. You're just gone. So, even whenever people found out that there were a few holes in the walls, they still stayed, except for that one time where I genuinely was thinking they were exploiting that. So then I killed them. You know, / kill. But turns out they apparently didn't really know, and they only figured that out real soon after I found out. So I'll let them actually grab their stuff. I don't think they lost their stuff. And even if they did, I think I would actually give it back. I don't remember how it went. Something, it was either the two routes. Either I let them grab their stuff back, or maybe they lost their stuff whenever trying to go back for their stuff, and then I probably gave their goods back anyway. Either way. Because once again, if it's a genuine mistake, whatever. You can get your stuff back. And if you lost your stuff, I can just give whatever you lost and maybe some compensation, maybe. I don't know. Point is, the experience was supposed to be just pure fun. That's the big old goal. Anyway, I think that's... Oh, right. Yeah, one more thing to mention. Sorry. Keep so many things to talk about. My goodness. Yeah, so another noteworthy thing was, because there was limited resources, I did actually want... for building materials, I actually wanted people to have the materials. So something I did was, if it was limited resources, of course it could add to the excitement of thinking about outside of the box when it comes up to building, but I wanted to actually allow exploration for further beyond. So anything like biomes that weren't accessible at all outside of the island, I would actually take a literal chunk from one of these biomes, and it was scheduled. I would, you know, pop into the realms, grab a chunk out of the world, and then spawn that crap in to the corner of the world. And then for the final day, or final few days, I actually stacked a bunch of different biomes on top of each other. Yeah, I called it the biome the biome chunk. So, yeah, and it was purely randomized. It wasn't up to whatever anyone was requesting, although I think I did speed up the process if no one was really interested in a certain biome. Where it was like, hey, can you spawn in this biome? And I'm like, no, but then I'm noticing everyone doesn't care about the current biome as well as I, so I was like, alright, well, if it's not being used in any way, then I might as well just, I might as well change it out for the sequential biome. So some days, I think the typical schedule was every 2 days, but sometimes I would just kind of like, all right, well, let's just move on to the next one since no one cares about this one. Blah, blah, blah. Let's just, get through this. And yeah, that's practically everything I have to mention. Anyway, so I have a sequel idea, and I don't know when that can happen. Maybe it'll happen in 5 years, 6 years, maybe even 10 years, I don't know. Because they like the idea of a sequel happening, but also we all think about the fact how we're just not going to be really available, so while we would want it, who knows if it will ever happen, because not only that, but it's a really ambitious concept. So let me explain. So you have Everlasting Destiny, then you have Final Destination. No, that's a movie name. Sorry. Final Destiny. Yeah, no, it's not paralleling the names. It's not a reference. But, it was supposed to be a full-on rehaul of the idea. It's a sequel. And for such a thing, I wanted to actually make it a pure sequel, feeling very fresh and new. And this time around, instead of an island, a traditional island and all of its resources, what I wanted to do, and like I said, I'm about to explain the entire ambitious concept. This time around, in the sequel, the story goes practically the same way, but a little bit different. So, crash land on this island, but it's a cooler boat made of netherite, out of spite, and you absolutely, this time around, I've added the rule that you can't actually mine props. Can't grab the prop stuff. But, anyway. Unless. Anyway. So, point case, you crash land. You're on this icy glacier, practically. So you're stuck on this flat little glacier, and the water is for some reason poisonous. I don't know how I'd implement that. I think I would generally have to hire someone to make a bunch of either commands or straight up maybe a mod or a data pack. I don't know, something. I think I need to hire someone in general to get that to work. But once again, the classic idea of you are not supposed to leave. There are already a little bit of barriers around the glacier, but the point in case is that you are supposed to stick to this glacier. And there's nothing on it practically, but this serves to be a hub area. And scattered on this glacier are different biomes. Well, I don't know. No. Definitely not. I think. I don't remember if it's supposed to be scattered biomes, like where you can teleport, or this other thing, because there's definitely this other concept, which is what was I gonna say? Stuck on the island. You're on this glacier. The glacier is the hub. However, yeah, on that thing there is other areas you can teleport to. Yeah, okay, that's how it's supposed to work. So basically, all across the glacier, this massive map. It's supposed to be a big map, big old glacier. And so your main way of transporting yourself is by boats. That was going to be the really exciting part. And there would be teleportations to, or different places where you can teleport to, specifically biomes. So you get teleported to a biome. So instead of me bringing the biomes to the players can now bring themselves to the biome. But there's a little catch. You see, you can go to any of these biomes that are unlocked, and I'll get to that in a second. However, you can't live there. You have to live on the glacier. In this chunk, it's a limited resources still. And in general, I still would want interactions between players. So you can't live in these chunks. If you try to live in these chunks, you will eternally just have poison. So whenever it becomes nighttime, it will poison you. Specifically the person who's inside of the chunk. If you're outside of the chunk, you're not going to get poisoned. But if you're inside, poison. Constantly. Until it's not nighttime anymore. So technically you could live there, and yeah, I'd be fine with that. It's not like I'm going to obliterate you. But you're going to have to live with that trouble of constantly getting poisoned at nighttime. But yeah, nonetheless, that's how that would work. It's still limited resource because, it's just a chunk. Literally just a chunk, or maybe just 4 chunks right next to each other in a square. So, there's that. But you're only unlocked to a few biomes at the very beginning, like maybe a desert, a plains biome, and something else, maybe. But at the very least, a plains biome you can teleport to immediately, because, otherwise how are you going to start things? But somewhere on this glacier, there would be this massive tower in which you will battle waves of difficulties of mobs just coming after you. And if you're able to beat it, I think you get a nether star, and you can just trade that in to make another biome available. So, now instead of the wither being the big old end goal, instead the big end goal truly is just getting better and advancing things. I think this idea came before trial chambers were a thing, but irrelevant. So I was just thinking about that just now. Nonetheless, that's kind of the idea. There's also trading being brought back, because it was a failure last time. It was supposed to be with this character called Grant, and that didn't go anywhere because, I only got 1 trade to work, and after that, I couldn't figure out how to get more trades, and it just didn't really work out. And I didn't want to bother, the participants, the friends, from just continuing playing, because each time I had to do this, I would have to reload the entire thing. It's not like anyone's progress was lost, but it's tedious, because, I have to stop the entire thing, implement it, and then see if it works. And if it ain't working, well, then I gotta keep retrying, and that's how it was with the whole nighttime machine thingamabob, which, was pretty tedious and was not a good feeling at all for me. So I was like, yeah, man, I'm so sorry. Just gotta restart this thing to get this thing to work. Just to check for it to work. Albeit the nighttime machine, once it did work, it did work. Anyway. Nonetheless, I want to bring back trading, but the antagonist this time around will be trading with you, and it's just some supercomputer somewhere on the glacier, of course. And, it's just the idea that I had before, but now it's a supercomputer, and I think it's the supercomputer that's keeping you on this area this time around, instead of like a weird skeleton thingamabob. Sorry that I keep saying thingamabob. My mentality, not the greatest. I'm tired. Ow. The song sounds nice, but I think there's too much going on with it. It'd be good if I was traveling, though. I guess there's that, so maybe that's the image it's going for. Ooh, nice. It has usage. Anyway, so that's the entire sequel idea. And I was thinking the big end game was that I was going to bring in aspects of the Nether, kind of just going to be full on attacking the glacier. Or something, maybe. I don't remember how that was gonna go. I don't even know if that was an endgame thing. Nonetheless, it don't matter. 'Cause now I ought to focus on this. Ooh, now we're really building like we're seeing some natural terrain. Anyway. I think if I were to make the sequel event, it'd probably only last for yet another whatchamacallit? It'd probably only last for maybe a month or two. That was kind of the idea. Once again, people are busy. And if we're going to spend time on this kind of thing, then we'd just have to think about the available time we could. So, what is your problem, man? Ooh, what? You know, once again, you know, they could always copy a Terraria and put the, it'd be great if they, you know, could stack up to 128 or something. Just saying. I don't think anyone would complain about that at all. You know what though? I sure am tired. Yes, sir, indeed. Ooh, nice. Okay. Oh man, as the day goes on, I feel like I'm in a haze. Apparently, haze also means something with drugs. Don't worry, I'm not under drugs. Or maybe not. Apparently not. Nonetheless, still wouldn't be to my tune. Just to be said. I like being awake. Because it's a fun feeling to actually be able to think. And I can totally understand that other people would feel differently. So it's understandable. I'm glad that the sound effect's back. I don't think I've noticed it until like last time I was playing. I don't think I mentioned it in any kind of stream. You know what? Let me put this stuff away. You know, as I said before, I'd love to respond to any person who's in chat, but I'm never looking whenever there is something. And then I'm like, whatever, I don't want to check it. So then I just go on for some time without checking. And then someone actually says something, and then I just don't see it. So I apologize. If I had a second monitor, then I would be looking a lot more often. But because I don't. Get this. I just don't look. I mean, heck, to be honest, as things goes, I'm more used to getting absolutely no views at all. Because, you know, on YouTube, you live stream, no one sees it. And if someone does see it, I don't know. So,
You're just kind of swimming into the void, and you just gotta get used to that. And also, in general, a lack of interaction, because I'm pretty used to how things work with Geometry Dash, but in other areas, not so much. Different territory. Of course, I could learn, though. There's always learn to be done. Oh boy. Oh, there's like no point in like trading with the villagers anymore. I already found a trial thing. I even have like the bad omen, so I don't even need it for anything. Oh, but you know, this song's pretty good though. Kudos to whoever made this one. No way. I'm trying to use these things that you're giving me, and then... Oh, that's not good. Or maybe they're not for me. I'm glad that they added gambling to the game. It's just the natural course of action. It's what you need to do. Speaking of which, I actually want to make a game, like a very really simple game, that might not actually be simple at all, because probably takes a lot of different mathematics to do. But you know, it's just a game called, I think it's called, if I remember what it would be called, Gamble Until You Can't, I think is what it would be called. The basic idea was this. It was going to be in a pixelated art style, pure green pixelated art style. Very simple. Probably was even going to be made in Java just for the heck of it. So far that's like the only thing I know right now. Very minimally, of course, but you know, still know a little bit of it. But nonetheless, the idea was that I was going to, where did you come from? Oh, this sucks. Crap! I'm gonna die. Right, so Gamble Until You Die was it's a very simple concept because, you know, if I'm gonna start with anything, it's, you know, it's supposed to be simple projects until you can work up. And the idea was that, you know, you start off with a game and it would either be on mobile or on PC, probably just on PC because I don't know how to actually work with anything on mobile just yet. If I were to do anything with that. And if I were to do any coding or game design. Anything, really. But, you start off with some points, you know? You can't actually put any money into the game at all. You just start off with points, and that's the game currency. You start off with whatever you got, and you keep working up, or you lose it all. And there is 2 modes, possibly to have 2 separate ideas, and... ah, you guys suck, man. Ooh, I what was I gonna say? Right, so like I said, not real currency ever, but you know, and maybe there would be 2 modes or 2 separate games of the same concept with a slight difference that would change the experience. One is a story mode, and the other one is just a sandbox. But both work off of the same ending, you know, which is if you lose all your points, the game uninstalls. Or rather, you would have to uninstall the game and reinstall it to fully start the game up again. Because, you know, there's no more points. So if you lost everything. It's gone. And you really would have to uninstall the game itself and reinstall it. I don't know how I would exactly go about implementing that beyond the... I mean, of course, you know, the typical response would be just uninstalling and reinstalling if you're the everyday person, but, you know, of course there's going to be individuals who probably just go to the files and just change the numbers around and maybe things just work out again. I don't know. But point in case, where am I? Wow. I'll come back to this. I need to put stuff away nonetheless. So the story mode would work like this, right? You are a guy who enters a casino. And, you know, you just play the simple stuff first with the few amount of money you got. You keep working your way up and you level up. Every single time. It opens more options to the different games that you could play in the casino. But eventually there comes a point in time where either from your addiction or something, you go for riskier games that have lesser chances of even winning. Stuff that is beyond just skill, but is just pure, you will probably lose your money. So over time, you're now losing your money until you just can't play the game anymore because you lost all of your money. So it's done. You're kicked out of the casino at that point. So game over. That's the story mode. The sandbox is along the same lines of, you know, the idea once you lose all your money and you only start with a certain amount and you can either earn more or less. But the sandbox comes along with the fact that as you open stuff up, you actually do keep the stuff open, everything open. So you get to just do whatever until you lose all your money. And then you just have to, you know, etc., etc., etc. Everything I just described. And so yeah, that's why it has the name, you know, gamble until you can't. Well, that's enough of that. Anyway, you know, this week was quite tense. I don't know if it's a lot of pages. I really don't think it is. I think I'm a slow reader, but who knows? Anyone would have to confirm with me on this one. Basically, during like these 4 to 5 days, I had to read 200 pages. AKA, there was this book I had to read for a project, and with that very limited amount of time, I ended up reading 200 pages to finish it. Oh wow. Maybe I should have more awareness. Fall damage. Or, no, I was hit at the last second. Either way, I gotta stop being blind. You see that delay, though? That was a big difference between you know, this server and Skywars. In fact, though, there's absolutely no delay. In free for all, there is also like very little delay though. But if we're talking about competitive, like true competitive stuff right here, you know, it's unfortunate that there's such a delay with all that stuff, you know. Hopefully I pass this final. Hopefully. Very much hope. If I didn't, oops. That's not good. No, not at all. Anyway, like I was saying like just an hour ago, maybe, this is straight up some like Schrodinger's chat messages, because, you know, I check on chat, nothing there. I don't expect anyone to chat, but if someone does chat, I would like to be able to reply to them. You know, I'm not saying anyone's obliged to actually say anything. I'm just saying, in case anyone does say anything, it's just a shame if I miss their messages, and then, of course, they're just waiting on some reply, and then they don't get any, and it's like, god dang, well, I'm sorry. Man, my aim sucks, dude. I need to practice it. There's one person I'm seeing instead of the leaderboard. Not leaderboard, but I mean, it's technically a leaderboard. Or just, no, it's a player list, right? It's the Key Devi. Someone who's actually pretty good at the bow, and at this point definitely would be better than me, because I'm sucking at this crap. See, it doesn't feel good whenever... If I'm getting an advantage from just lag, that's not fun. Because then I'm not improving, I'm just getting some random crap. And what are you doing, dude? Where's the water? Ooh. You making a trap? No, not even that. What are you doing, dude? No? Okay. Oh. Yeah. Sorry, I had to clear my nose. This man's a genius. In weird directions, both are over preparing. What? I'm gonna sneeze again. Hold on. Oh, I hate sneezing. I've mentioned before, but like, always hurts my throat so much. Genuinely, I really don't like sneezing. People like sneezing because it gives them the relief from the tension. But for me, no, I dread that. I don't want that release. It's gonna hurt my throat. It's like a cannon is being set off. Oh. What? Oh. Oh my goodness. You relied way too much on your aim, dude. Oh my goodness. Come on, man. stretch. I need more revenge stories. Man, I need more revenge stories. I need more revenge stories. I need more revenge stories. You see, there's not enough manga out there that has like satisfying revenge. A lot of them end with the victim just being like, yeah, I forgive you. Nah, man, no forgiveness. I want this perpetrator to feel horrible. Is that the right word? Point case, I want this person to feel bad, miserable. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! It's also probably not a good thing that I'm trying to always crit spam. But I don't know if that's like what would be better in the case of Skywars. By the way, when it comes down to using the bow and all that jazz, you know, I've actually made a courtesy code, or like different ways to avoid ticking people off, as a courtesy, you know, not just because of the idea of, you know, it's just a matter of just being polite and making sure other people can enjoy their game. Because, you know, as much as it's great that I'm going to be using the bow, I'm also trying to think about the fact how annoying it would be to compete against me. Or fight against me, I guess. And so I developed a courtesy code to ensure that things are pretty well balanced in a sense, where I'm still using the bow all the time, but like I'm keeping in mind other people as, you know, a way of courtesy. The idea goes like this. In Skywars, you know, if you're going to be shooting towards someone, at some point in time, you better be actually building your way to that island and not leaving them just staying there. You got to actually have them do something, you know? There has to be a development. Otherwise, you're just making that person stay there for no reason. And it's similar to the idea of camping, but in the reverse manner. You're just trapping someone to make them camp. And it's kind of boring. And not really cool. You know, it's a sportsmanship. So, if you're going to be shooting towards someone on an island, at some point in time, you got to consider if you're going to actually start building over or just give up on them. It's whatever, though. I keep falling! Oh, man. Oh. But yeah. I'm sorry for checking the chat. I just, once again, I want to make sure I'm not just missing out on anything and leaving someone hanging. I didn't read that. I'm not blaming anything on lag. I'm not really good at PvP either way. But man, it just doesn't feel right in general if I'm lagging. Because if I'm beating someone, but it's because of lag, that's not fun. Because, as I've said before, if I ain't doing it, then it ain't me. And that's not cool. To me, a lot of situations, it's not about winning. It's about just, actually getting better. Because what's the point of winning in the end if you didn't earn it? Unless you want to be petty. That's a different case scenario. There comes rewards with being petty. And the necessity to not care about such courtesies. Yeah. Oh, that guy hated me. Who shot that at me? If someone shot something at me. Why you lie? Why you lie? Because in that interaction, just to cite my sources, not cite my sources, but just to cite some examples, that's a good example. It just, like I said, it doesn't feel fair. Because I feel like he should definitely be hitting me. Because he probably has better accuracy than me. But he's not hitting me. Probably because I'm lagging. Which is not... Or he could be lagging. We both could be lagging. We both could be lag-gigging. And I guess that could just be at fault for the server itself, which is very much infamous for the fact that it's real laggy. So, there's that. But, nonetheless, point in case, it still feels the same. If I'm not getting hit, whenever it feels like they should definitely be a lot more accurate because they seem a lot more accurate. Point case, blah blah blah, whatever. You get the point. All right, I'm switching stuff. Let's see. Well, first things first, I ought to think what I'm gonna do. Let's see. Yeah, why not? I'm gonna end the stream here, but I'm gonna restart it immediately afterwards, just to have things separated, so it doesn't go under like one singular title. I will be very soon back.